And we are live. What's going on, everyone? It's Azor Ahype here. I am back today in the beautiful sunny California. I'm currently staying in Pasadena, California, with some of you who may know Rick Hoppy from the chat. And basically, I'm having a great time out here. I just landed in LA yesterday, right near the mountains. Absolutely beautiful weather. But here today, we're actually here to talk about Game of Thrones Season 8. It's been a little while since we've done a video, and really excited to be with all of you here today to chat some Game of Thrones. It feels like it's been a while, but I'm feeling completely better from the cold. That one kicked my butt for about 2 weeks there. Really messed me up. But I'm completely back here in sunny California in Los Angeles. So let's go take a look at chat. We have Runs with Squirrels, The Prince That Wasn't Promised. We have Nicola. We have Amanda, Michael Smith, who's in Australia, Nyanor Tubbs. We have Chrissy of Oldstone, Mandolin. We have Maura Lee, who made a $25 donation pre-stream. Thank you so much, Maura Lee, returning that to you. Do love you as well, milady. We have Mama Ogre in chat. We have Shadow Fox. We have Otilla Angel, who's a patron of the channel. And by the way, everyone, we will be doing, me and Gemma, right after this live stream, we'll be doing an hour episode of our new special Patreon-only podcast. We used to do bonus podcasts. We're changing up the format a little bit. We're actually making them much longer. So me and Gemma are going to chat about Daredevil Season 3, Game of Thrones Season 8. We're going to talk about Con of Thrones, and that is going to be coming as well. Let's see who else is in chat before we really get into the conversation here. John Haymaker, Katrin, Wesley, Linda Smith, Mia Ice and Fire. We have Niels. We have Craze PG, Carrot Cake, and I'm sure there will be some others in chat as well. So how's everyone doing? Let's start off with that. Everyone in chat, let me know, how are you feeling today? I'm feeling fantastic. I feel loving the weather out here. I can breathe. Nice and fresh air. Went and had some amazing food last night here in LA. I had some Indian food. And today I'll probably go grab some. Seems like there's a pretty decent fish taco spot down the street, so I might go check that out. I'm definitely going to go walk around and check out some of the spots near here. It's awesome. Wonderful, says Amanda. Feeling hype, says Nyanor. Fresh air. It's fresher than it was in Houston, Texas. It was definitely, I mean, the humidity isn't killing me is what I'm trying to say. Mama Ogre is knitting. But yeah, so today, basically, what should we do? Should we go kind of towards Watchers on the Wall? Usually we do this every now and then. We go to check out all the most recent news from Watchers on the Wall for Season 8, and we go through articles. And I know there hasn't been much lately, but there has been some semi-revealing articles, interviews with some of the cast members like Peter Dinklage, Maisie Williams, Sophie Turner, and whatnot. Or what we could do, which is really fun, is we can open it up to chat and start talking about some endgame theories and predictions and kind of go back and forth and get a Q&A from the chat going. So Prince That Wasn't Promised says, I'm up for whatever. Okay. Prince That Wasn't Promised says he's up for whatever. Okay, we can, 1 second, just making sure I'm getting all these windows. I have like 5. I was doing some reading earlier. I have 5 windows open. Okay. So what we'll do is actually, you know what, let's open it up to chat. We can get to some articles after, and we'll open it up to chat. We'll talk about some, like, you guys bring up a character or a plot line, and we'll kind of go over together, chat and me. We'll go over some theories and endgame theories and predictions and whatnot. Kind of give my hot take after I just spilled water on myself. Okay, everybody seems to be jiving with endgame theories. Let's do that. Let's do some endgame theories. Dragon Master J starts off with one of the biggest questions in Song of Ice and Fire. Is Jon Snow going to survive? Really, really interesting. I was actually talking with Rick, who I'm staying with here in LA last night before we went out to dinner, about Jon Snow. and his journey. And as many of you know, I love the hero's journey. The archetypal structure that we see within, movies like The Matrix, and we've even seen it in Lion King. We've seen it in, oh my goodness, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Interstellar. So many different movies anyways, everyone. I really think that Jon Snow's hero's journey ends up quite tragically, but I think he survives. And a big reason why I think this is, I've been thinking a lot about the circular nature of how the 3-act structure, the hero's journey works lately. And I think that we're going to see Jon Snow end up at basically the starting point of where Ned was when Ned brought Jon back to Winterfell. Now, hear me out about this. I think that and I know a lot of people are on the train that Jon Snow's parentage is yet to be revealed. I'm 100% on the R plus L equals J train. I know a lot of you are as well. But I really think that Martin is doing something brilliant. And what he's trying to do is he's going to put Jon Snow in the very same position that that Ned Stark was in when he kind of, when the war, when all the Robert Baratheon killed Mad King Aerys and all of that went down. So I think that Jon Snow is going to survive the series. He's in George R. R. Martin's original outline, and I know that has most definitely changed since whatever it was, like between 1992 and 1993 is when he kind of really started forming Game of Thrones. And a Song of Ice and Fire series. But for me, I do believe that Jon Snow survives, and I think that he ends up in Winterfell probably with his and Dany's child. There could be a situation where Dany doesn't survive, and I think that would be... I know a lot of people hate on me because I don't believe Daenerys is going to survive the series, but I just think that Daenerys and the Night King are kind of like these... it's these two apex predators, and they're going to cancel each other out. Ice and fire, the two biggest ice and fire elements within the Song of Ice and Fire series are going to cancel each other out. So the dragons and Daenerys, who is the mother of dragons, and the Night King and the White Walkers. And Jon's kind of in the middle of that. I think that but a big part of the reason why I think he's going to survive is that Jon hasn't known that he is royal the whole series, and he's going to find that very, very late in the end game that he is, both Targaryen and Stark. And I do think that that's a big difference between him and Daenerys. Daenerys has known that she has been royalty her whole life. So Jon has earned what he has through merit and heart and understanding people and thoughtfulness and surviving some really tough situations. I'm not saying that Daenerys hasn't done that, but I do think that Daenerys will understand that Jon is probably in a better position to lead the people than she really is, and I think that she's going to understand what the House of the Undying visions represent, and I think Jon's going to understand that his destiny, like Jon doesn't really have a choice on what he has to do. He has to fight the Night King. So that's pretty shitty, but I do think he will have a reason to be alive. And I think that is kind of the brilliance of George R. R. Martin. He's going to end up with some tragedy in the end, but I think he ends up in a spot similarly to Ned Stark. And that's going to be kind of, one of the bigger twists is we're going to see a lot of these characters end up at the starting points of their journey, but where the world is completely changed, essentially. So that was a long-winded answer. I don't really have any true evidence for you. I could see Jon dying. I mean, he has put himself in the line of fire many times, but I do really think that Jon survives the series. He's one of, 7 or 8 main POVs that really go towards the end of the series, and he makes it, and he helps rebuild Westeros, so to speak. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, I think Jon Snow is definitely going to survive. I'm like 100% sold on that. We got another donation, Travis Michael. Hey Kyle, glad to hear you're feeling better. No question, glad to be here with you, man. I'm glad to be here with you, bro, and everyone in chat. Hype and love to all of you. Dragon Master J with another one. We'll just follow it up again. Actually, Dragon Master, we'll get back to that one. Tyrion in just a second. Let's see if is there any other ones in chat right now. Okay, so we'll talk about Tyrion. Does Tyrion survive? Yeah, I think he's in more danger than I thought he was. There has been some rumblings that Tyrion possibly could die in season 8. And of course, like I said, there's the book and the show. I think that Tyrion definitely survives in the books. I don't know. I don't necessarily know that Dan and Dave would make that big of a change in the show as well. Some people tend to think that they would, and Martin could make changes, and you know, he could veer off course from his trajectory because of what's happened with the show. I don't believe that at all. I do think that Tyrion is going to survive the series. I actually think that he's a dark horse candidate to become king of Westeros, or at least king regent in the end of the story. There is a very high possibility that both Jon and Daenerys die, which would put, you know, Tyrion and Sansa in a really interesting position. And if we look at the War of the Roses, what happened there, there could be some similar things that happened at the end of the story that kind of mirror that within the Song of Ice and Fire. I'm not necessarily George Martin really mirrors everything that happens, but basically we could see, you know, the end of the Targaryens period, and that would mean Jon and Daenerys. But their child, right? If they have a child, that wouldn't mean the end. So that would be maybe the dream of spring. You know, Tyrion and Sansa help rebuild Westeros with cripples, bastards, and broken things. I think that's basically what's going to happen anyways. You know, Tyrion made some blunders in Game of Thrones season 7 for sure. He didn't really accomplish what he set out to. I think that, you know, he was definitely disappointed with his performance, so to speak, you know, being handed the queen with Daenerys. And I think that, you know, in the books, he's in a pretty shitty spot too. I mean, he's hit rock bottom. He's definitely not the Tyrion that we're used to seeing. So I think that, yes, he survives the series. I think he ends up in some position of power. He's going to be a very, very important to what happens after. I see him in a very similar role to, like, you know, I don't want to say Bilbo Baggins, but I mean, like, Bilbo wrote, you know, his adventures down on paper. And I think that Tyrion could be instrumental in the writing of the Song of Ice and Fire, because I do think that someone is going to write this tale in the history books so it can be chronicled and told to the next generations, because we kind of do have that lack of that within the Song of Ice. Within Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire, real concrete proof of what really happened throughout history. So I think that Tyrion is going to be a very, very large part of that. I don't see him betraying Jon or Daenerys at all of those theories. I just don't think Tyrion would do that at this point. I mean, I guess he could be pushed to be doing something like that, as something like, I mean, to try to save the Lannister line or something like that. I don't understand why people think that he's going to betray Jon or Daenerys, people who he has a massive amount of respect for. And I think that Tyrion also understands what has transpired because of power and people abusing power. And he's been in a position where he's been kind of at a disadvantage his whole life. So Tyrion is a survivor. I think he survives the series for sure. And he's in some sort of position of power, whether it's on some sort of council, hand of the king or queen, something like that, or even king, you know, king regent, king of Westeros, you know, with Sansa maybe raising Jon and Daenerys' child, something of that nature. I think he makes a very large impact. A very small man can cast a very large shadow. So I think that is something that we have to consider for Tyrion Lannister. Okay, let's get to some more questions. Mandolin says, will Tyrion lose his tongue? I do not think he loses his tongue. It would be ironic if he did, though, using the thing that Tyrion's power is his mind and what he's able to say. So I think that would be kind of ironic if he wasn't able to do that. But that would lead more credence to him, you know, really helping with the Song of Ice and Fire, chronicling the history of that. But I do not think Daenerys, I do not think Tyrion loses his tongue. Yeah, I do think, you know, I have this little theory that Tyrion and Sansa are actually going to be a duo next season. You know, a lot of people really don't trust Sansa. They think that she's going to have some sort of betrayal or do something really dumb. I don't see her doing that at all. And I actually think that Tyrion wants to redeem himself and show that he's capable of, really being an asset for Daenerys. And I think that, I think he understands that when he understands that the Night King is coming and that they're in danger, Daenerys is going to be a very big part of that. She is the mother of dragons, and she has Drogon, which is probably the best chance at defeating the Night King, right? I mean, the Night King got his own dragon, and they're in a tough spot. How are they going to beat the White Walkers? Daenerys is going to be a very, very big part of that. So I think that Tyrion and others like Davos and Sansa and others will have to be instrumental in keeping people together, because I think there will be some disagreement. There's a lot of egos. There's a lot of power to be thrown around, and I think that I definitely I just think that Daenerys and her dragons are kind of like the opposition of that. And I think that Tyrion can't lose his tongue. He needs to be able to speak and have a large impact. All right. I have a smelly haircut, everyone. Wow. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Shadow Fox, Dany still has the face of betrayal. Who will it be? And glad you are feeling better. I don't think it's Tyrion. A lot of people think that the betrayal will be Tyrion, Shadow Fox. I think that I think her idea of what her life was going to be is a betrayal. You know what I mean? Her like living a lie, which is interesting. If you want to interpret it that way, that can kind of be a betrayal, that she will never achieve what she really set out to do, which is sit the Iron Throne. And I don't necessarily know if it has to be a person. Maybe her betrayal for love is that she ends up dying because she ends up not focusing on her goals and ends up sacrificing herself for love. So if you interpret it that way, that could be Jon and it could be their child. So because we know as Daenerys as being someone that's very independent, she's obviously has dragons. That's something that's huge, and she's accomplished quite a lot. And her not being able to do that as much, being pregnant, or somehow dying, not as a warrior princess or queen, would be really, really shitty, right? So I think that we don't necessarily need to just think of it as a person betrayal for love. I think perhaps she betrays herself in some sort of way, or it's symbolic in nature, because George R.R. Martin does that, right? And we got to remember that prophecy doesn't always mean it's actually going to happen. It is interpreted or perceived by each person differently, right? Just like our own perception, our own consciousness, the way we view life and the way we experience life is different from everyone else. It's a completely unique viewpoint. I think we have to be really careful about that, and that's what I kind of think about that. But I do think that her betrayal for love could mean that she actually sacrifices herself, and she doesn't achieve that goal of getting the Iron Throne, and she doesn't get to see that change that she wanted to, that final step of change, so to speak. Don't think this is an actual spoiler, says Lady Lordaine. But I heard the opposite, that Jon will make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. I mean, he's already done that, right? I mean, he's got Daenerys to accept that is more important than the Iron Throne. So I think that, I mean, he's willing to do it. He's going to have to be doing it. He is going to try to do that again. His life is going to be in the biggest danger than any one character in the series. He literally is going to have to face the Night King 1 versus 1. Actually, let's take a poll in chat. I want to see if we can all agree on this and kind of where we all sit with this. Does everyone think that Jon Snow is going to fight the Night King 1 versus 1? Are they going to fight 1 versus 1? Let me know in the comment section and in the chat if you think that Jon is going to fight the Night King. And if you do, how about this? We put a fire emoji in chat if we do think that Jon Snow is going to be fighting the Night King. Let's see what everyone has to say about this. So we got 3 yeses so far. 4 yeses. Okay, 4 to 4. 5. So we're sweeping right now. There's only one no. There's two no's. So pretty much overwhelmingly the chat. Yeah, okay. Of course he is. So mostly everyone does think that he will fight the Night King. No? Okay, there's a few more no's. I'd say we're about pretty much 90% though. That's pretty interesting. So yeah, I think that's kind of something that we have to look at too. Like Jon not having a choice, fighting the Night King 1 versus 1, something that he has to kill the Night King one-on-one, which would be really interesting. I think that obviously there's going to be a big twist with the Night King and the White Walkers. We're going to find out something that humanizes them in some sort of way. I think that we're going to find out that the Night King had a family that loved him very much. He had his life taken away from him, and we'll feel some sort of empathy because the Children of the Forest did take away his humanity. And Jon is going to have to stop that. And I think that the main characters that are going to be around at the end of the series will have known this tragic character that is the Night King. And obviously, him not being able to speak and communicate, but communicating through symbols, and that symbolism really is death, is what they represent. Winter and destruction and decay. Yeah, so I think that kind of looking at that is, Jon Snow is going to have to be right in the direct, like he's directly in danger. He has to be like right in front of the Night King. He is the one who is leading the charge on that. So I think that, yeah. Oh, we have Indeep Geek in chat. But more importantly, what do we think about Kyle's returning beard and very slick hair? Thanks, Indeep Geek. Nice to see you, my friend. We got to have Indeep Geek here on the channel very soon. I got a little bit late into LA yesterday. I got also stuck in the traffic, so I wasn't able to join Indeep Geek on his stream yesterday. But me and Robert are definitely going to be collaborating soon. And the beard, I am growing the beard back, by the way, everyone. The beard is coming back. Oh, should I Robert, should I tell everyone about my costume for tomorrow night for the Halloween stream? Should I give them a little preview? Robert's the only one who can decide this. Robert has to say yes or no. Should I tell them about what I'm going to be doing tomorrow night, or should I surprise everyone? Well, we'll see what Robert says. Should I let them know? Keep the suspense alive, says Peter Griffin. And Candace Burns, we will get to your Crypts of Winterfell question in just a second. Let's see. Preview. Robert. Indeep Geek says preview only if someone does a super chat. Well, you heard it from Robert. It has spoken. He has spoken. Lady Laura Dane, happy birthday to your son, whatever his name is. Hype and love to him. But let's go to Candace Burns. How important of a role do you believe the Crypts of Winterfell will play in Game of Thrones Season 8? Will we find something down there relevant to winning the battle for Dawn? They're so important in the books. Yeah, this show, it's going to be really interesting. Shadow Fox already made a donation. Okay. We'll get back to the Crypts of Winterfell question in just a second. So previewing my Halloween costume tomorrow for the Halloween stream. All right, previewing it. Oh, Fernzilla also made a donation for the preview. Okay, so I really got to give you a good preview now. Let's get some hype and love in chat for that. All right, so this hair I have, the hair that Robert was talking about, the slick haircut that I have, the nice hair, this will not be part of my costume. That doesn't mean I'm shaving my head. That's not happening. I do have some nice hair. So this hair will not be part of my costume tomorrow. And there's a certain hashtag which all of you love. Perhaps that may have inspired my costume for tomorrow. That's the preview that you're getting. You're not getting anything else. That is the preview for the Halloween stream tomorrow of what I will be wearing for my costume. So that's it. You're going to have to go back and watch the stream if you want to hear more previews, unless someone really changes my mind and makes another big dodo or something, but that's it. All right, so back to the question about the Crypts of Winterfell. Do I think it's going to make a big impact? It's really interesting. I've been going back and forth and thinking about the Isle of Faces and the Crypts of Winterfell a lot lately, and I do think the Crypts of Winterfell will play an important part. I don't think we're going to see the Kings of Winter rise from their graves or anything like that. Sorry, Gemma, but I do think that obviously Jon's parentage is going to be a very big part of Game of Thrones season 8. His parentage, finding out who he actually is, Lyanna being in the crypts. He's going to have to go down there at some point and look at the statue of his mother. Wow, Indeed Geek, that's rude. Seriously, people paid for a preview? Yeah, someone did. But I think that, yes, the Crypts of Winterfell, I think more so than it having to do with Lyanna and Ned and, you know, paying respects and all of that. I think that them escaping Winterfell, because I think in at least in Game of Thrones season 8, episode 3, the Battle of Winterfell is going to go down, and they're going to have to escape. And I think there may be a secret passage from Winterfell that leads, you know, to Greywater Watch or something like that, for example. So I hope it is a passage to Greywater Watch. That's what I've been thinking could possibly go down, how they can maybe spoil us all and surprise us. But I may be completely off the mark. But I do think the Crypts of Winterfell are going to be important. Obviously, Jon's parentage being confirmed. Could there be some sort of weapon down there? Could in the show, Dawn from the Tower of Joy, could Ned have brought that back with him to Winterfell? I don't necessarily know. The Sword of the Morning Dawn usually goes to a Dane. There's a lot of things that kind of have to happen with that one. I know a lot of people think that, you know, Rhaegar's harp is in Lyanna's statue, or, you know, their wedding band, something to signify that Rhaegar and Lyanna were married. But, you know, obviously Bran went back in time to confirm what Sam was saying to him in the finale of Game of Thrones season 7. So I do think that it is going to be very important. And you know, maybe Jon dies at the end of the story too, and we see him buried down there, even though he's a Targaryen. You know, he's a Stark king. So the Crypts of Winterfell are very, very, very important. I do believe that. I don't think that the Night Queen is down there or anything like that. Those are cute theories. You know, it's fun to speculate on that sort of stuff. But I do think for season 8, it's mainly going to be about Jon's parentage and Lyanna, and him making that connection with that, and then also very much something having to, you know, some sort of secret passageway dealing with that to get out of Winterfell. So we got some more comments in chat. Let's see. Let's go up here. If you are not Khaleesi, then the masses will riot. Sammy, I don't think we're going to have a riot. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I'm not saying that I'm going to be Khaleesi, though. Scoop Kyle is going to address as a Shardane. That's an even better guess, actually. Yes, everyone, I'm dressing as a Shardane tomorrow. I'm dressing as a Shardane tomorrow, everyone. Let's pump up Linda Smith's question. Do you think a reforged ice will be required to take out the Night King? That's very interesting. They're definitely going to have to be making some more weapons to fight the White Walkers and the Army of the Dead next season. Gendry is going to be around. Daenerys' dragons are going to be there. Bran is in the, you know, taking on all sorts of things and going throughout history and learning things. So I think that that's really important that they all get together and try to find out, you know, if Lightbringer was a real thing, if Bran finds out that Lightbringer is a real thing, then how they make a new one. If it is Ice Reforged, you know, Oathkeeper and and Widow's Wail, they get back together and they make a sword, and that's what they have to do, kill the Night King, because it is, the Night King is a Stark, and he has to be taken out by a Stark Valyrian steel blade. All these different factors are there, but I do think that we're going to see some new weapons being made. Joe Dempsey actually kind of teased that at Con of Thrones 2018. Actually, he talked about making a different weapon for himself, not necessarily. He wouldn't necessarily get that Warhammer back that he had. So yeah, I do think that we're gonna. So I do think that, it is they're Valyrian steel weaponry. Ice could be reforged. Maybe at the end of the story, it could be a thing instead of right before the battle with the Night King, but it wouldn't make sense. But that would mean less Valyrian steel blades. That would mean that Brienne and Jaime won't have their own weapons, and I think that Oathkeeper is going to stay with Brienne, and Jaime is going to have Widow's Wail, and they both are going to have to protect Stark girls. I think. White Walkers are going to come down on Winterfell. The Night King's going to be there. So I don't necessarily know if that's Ice is going to happen, but it's certainly possible. The two weapons will be in the same vicinity for that to happen, and Gendry will be there, and there will be dragon fire and all of that. So if there is going to be reforging, Gendry is there. Just so everyone is here, me and Gemma are doing. I just want to announce an hour bonus podcast on Patreon right after this stream. We're going to get together. It's going to be really fun. And we're doing a little bit of a new format on Patreon for all of the patrons of the channel. So everyone who has signed up for Patreon after this stream, in about half an hour or so, me and Gemma are going to be recording an hour-long special podcast for Patreon. So look out for that. And if anyone, you do want to become a member of the Hype Bringers, make sure you check out the description of this video, and you can find the link for Patreon. Signing up gets you bonus to the extra podcast and all sorts of cool stuff that we do on Patreon. So check that out. Description of the video really helps out the channel, and super easy to do that as well. So super excited to be doing the bonus podcast again on Patreon for you guys. Nicholas says Heartsbane. Very interesting. Like, is that going to be the new Ice? I don't know. But Samuel Tarly has Heartsbane, so that's going to be really interesting. That's another blade, and that's a big one. Bastard sword. Bastard swords are pretty big. Here's the question, says Sasek. Azor Hype, who do you think will wield Heartsbane? Yeah. Good candidate to get that one. I've always wanted some Valyrian steel. I could see Sandor getting that. He's a big guy. Arya's going to have a Valyrian steel dagger in the show. Them fighting side by side, and he's kind of left out with Brienne and all them together. It would be kind of weird if the Hound didn't have his own weapon like that. I would love, and the Valyrian steel blade on fire, maybe. That would be really interesting if that happened. So Nicholas says that Hound gets Heartsbane. Oh, Indeed Geek has a comment. Hashtag pro tips. Patreon is really important for YouTube content creators. YouTube income is really up and down. Patreon gives us a regular income that allows us to provide more content. Please support Kyle. Hey, Indeed Geek is right. Patreon is something that is super important for me, people like me and Robert. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. We won't focus it on it for too long, but it is super important for people like me and Robert and Gemma to, be able to provide extra good content for you guys. Of course, Robert and Gemma make much better content than I do, but yeah. I do think that Sandor Clegane could be the one to possibly wield Heartsbane. I think that Jon stays with Longclaw, although some people think that since Heartsbane is a bastard sword, that Jon can maybe get it. He's been called bastard for such a long time. But what about Samuel Tarly actually killing a White Walker with a Valyrian steel blade? Like, Sam has progressively, he's improved a lot. He's not a Craven anymore. So But you know, it is a huge sword, right? So let's think about that. Sandor Clegane is definitely a candidate, or that sword could be broken down into other swords or like arrows or something like that. I just don't think they will break down the sword. But certainly, you know, the other swords could be lost in battle. You know, maybe the White Walkers start collecting Valyrian steel, and they steal some of that so they can't be used against them or something like that. Or maybe in, you know, the retreat of some of these battles, some of these blades get lost because some of the characters die. So that could be another thing too. But what do we think in chat? Who wields Heartsbane? Because it's definitely going to be making an impact. We like 100% Heartsbane is going to be wielded by someone. It's a Valyrian steel blade, and Samwell Tarly is in Winterfell. So what do we think in chat? Let's talk about this. Who will wield Heartsbane in the show? Well, all of you do that. I'm just actually going to grab a glass of water. No shenanigans in chat, everyone. Everyone behave themselves. I will be right back. Wow, Helen. Helen, that is, you know what you have to do now because of that comment, right? Helen. Helen, you know what you have to do now because of that. Wow. Samwell Tarly will give, so a lot of you think Sandor Clegane. Jorah Mormont. I think that Jorah is going to die really early in the season. Sam the Slayer? Okay. So, I mean, Brienne of Tarth. Ooh, Mandolin. Brienne of Tarth. That's really interesting. So, if Mandolin's correct and Brienne of Tarth gets Heartsbane, maybe Widow's Wail and Oathkeeper get made back into ice. Tormund? Ooh, Tormund getting a Valyrian steel. I don't know. It's not really his style, though. I don't think Tormund with the sword will. I mean, he's an axe guy. Ooh, Braun. Braun is not a huge guy, but he's a very, very good fighter. And Braun getting a Valyrian steel blade, that would be really interesting. That's a great comment. Jenny of Coldstone, welcome. Awesome comment. Yeah, Tormund is definitely alive. It's confirmed. I'm pretty sure he's alive. Nayanor, what's going on? A Valyrian steel axe would be awesome. Yeah, are we gonna get that? I mean, do they somehow find some more Valyrian steel, or they find the recipe to make some? Right? We got dragons at Winterfell. Maybe they find the true recipe to make some Valyrian steel. What about that? Everybody really wants to see Tormund with the Valyrian steel axe. Hell yeah. Tormund fighting a White Walker. Whoa! You know how he makes his grunt? He makes his grunt before whenever I would just love to see that him with an axe. Oh. Valyrian steel barbed wire. Wow. Funny thirsty. I don't see that happening. Helen says Valyrian steel arrows. Indie Geek says steal the Valyrian steel from the Citadel. Yeah, all the links in those chains. Indie Geek, steal all those chains. I could definitely see that maybe happening. Tormund is becoming a White Walker. I think you mean a white Geordie Jedi. Yeah, Tormund could definitely be biting the dust. Fernzilla says Bronn should get Widow's Wail. That could be something that's very interesting. You know, Jaime realizes that he's still not, I mean, he doesn't have his sword hand anymore, and he's more trying to get people evacuated. But I don't know. I think that we have to see Jaime, like Brienne is like about to die or something, and Jaime goes and saves her, or Jon. Jaime always has regretted that he wasn't able to protect Elia and Rhaegar's children, and Jon is the child of Lyanna and Rhaegar, so that is definitely a thing. I think that Jaime is going to keep the Valyrian Steel Blade, though. He is going to have to use it for sure. Do you think he's going to be made into a White Walker? I don't see that happening at all, Jordy. Oh, Candace Burns. Tormund taking down a White Walker with the Valyrian Steel Axe, followed by Brienne commenting about making giant babies with him. Or Tormund tries to save Brienne, and then she like gives him some sort of confirmation that she would, some sort of affirmation. Oh my goodness, that would be hilarious. Shadow Fox says, question by Nayano, will Arya survive? Well, she's yeah, Arya's definitely surviving. She was in the main. By the way, thank you for that donation, Shadow Fox. Oh, you guys are so generous today. Giving that donation. You guys, we had a pre-stream donation from Mora, and you guys have been super generous. So thank you so much. Really, really appreciate the generosity. Will Arya survive? Yeah, definitely. I think that she ends up in Bravos maybe, as taking over where Lady Crane did in the show. I think that that's definitely a possibility, or she goes on her own adventure again. She's, you know, we're very in a very similar spot to when she sailed off at the end of season 4 and when she went to Bravos and all that. But I think that yeah, that's not me. You know, Arya is going to go on doing her own thing. But certainly, I think she survives. She could stay and, you know, help rebuild Winterfell. She has went on her own adventures, but maybe she realizes that, you know, that's her staying at Winterfell and helping her family again. And she is super duperly dangerous. She is like she is a living weapon. So yeah, she's going to be really important to the health and safety of Winterfell. And I actually think, you know, I've been actually thinking about it. I think that Arya, I really do think that she's going to go berserk, especially in the show. And I think she's going to end up staying in the fight for too long. And someone like Sandor is going to have to go save Arya. She's going to stay and get pinned down or something. And then someone is going to have to sacrifice themselves for Arya. And then she's going to be really feeling regretful. Like someone like Gendry. I don't know. Someone is going to stay fighting too long at Winterfell. I mean, it's going to get overrun by White Walkers and the undead. Let's just say that. But yeah, I think that Arya survives. And I think there's a very strong possibility that she kills Cersei, honestly. I know a lot of people think that Jaime does it. I think that Jaime is going to do it, but she is like second in line for that. And I could see that both of them being part of the Clegane Bowl, you know, maybe they fight over who kills Cersei in Game of Thrones season 8. But I do think, thank you for the question, by the way, I do think that Arya survives the story. And Deep Geek with the question, have you already talked about the circular nature of character arcs? I loved it when you go all intellectual on me. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. You know, the hero's journey, there's all sorts of different interpretations of the 3-act structure of the hero with 1,000 faces. And I think that, you know, Jon Snow is probably one of the most interesting ones anyways. Where he's going to end up. And I talked a little bit about, you know, characters ending up at their starting point or someone else's starting point that was very close to them at the end of their story. Because when you look at the hero's journey, you got the return to Elixir, and then you have, you know, we start off with the ordinary world, and then they return to the ordinary world after all of that at the end of the story, the very last step of the hero's journey, and their world is completely changed, right? And they have changed in some way through their experiences in life, through tragedy, through their adventure. And I think that, you know, we're going to see a lot of characters end up where they originally started, but with a different view of how the world is. And Jon is a perfect example of that. He's going to be kind of I mean, he was an outsider in Winterfell. Now he's going to be in charge of Winterfell, but he's going to, have a child and understand exactly the sacrifice that Ned made and that Rhaegar and Lyanna made to be together. Theon, he was a ward of Winterfell, and he's going to be in a very interesting position. He's, Jon told him, at least in the show anyways, that he can be a Stark and a Greyjoy. Is Theon going to be king of the Iron Islands? I mean, that would certainly be interesting. But I also think that he could be maybe at Winterfell, where he first started, at least in our story anyways, in Game of Thrones. He could be ending up there. That could be something that's really interesting. But I certainly think that his story comes full circle, and he is someone that has fully understood himself, and he certainly could become king of the Iron Islands, and certainly be part of the Stark family again, even though he has done these betrayals. Same thing with Brienne of Tarth. She was someone that was searching for respect for such a long time when we saw her, and she could certainly, we could see this change. She could be in Jaime Lannister's position. She could be a member of the Kingsguard, but a woman. Certainly could, be affecting and being part of something really big within Westeros, the changing of how things, especially women, are treated as warriors, things like that. Arya, for an example, she was running around and adventuring and all that. And, we see Bran wanting to become a knight and all these different things. They're kind of wishes won't necessarily happen, but, these little twists that George R. Martin inserts within the story. But yeah, I think that's a really big thing, Robert. The circular nature of A Song of Ice and Fire that we're going to see. Jaime, for example, what he tried to do and accomplish with the Mad King was show that wasn't a type of behavior that he can have. That's why he killed the king. But what if he did the exact thing he tried to prevent with the Mad King? Wouldn't that be ironic? Coming full circle, having to use wildfire to destroy part of the army of the dead, having to remove Cersei, being the Mad Queen, off the Iron Throne, those kinds of things, the circular nature of A Song of Ice and Fire. Arya Stark being very much like Nymeria, the warrior queen who had 10,000 ships. Arya, she was right on the boat. She was on the end of it. She kind of looked like Nymeria probably would, Yeah, that's another interesting one, Nicola. Jaime will become Bran's protector. He pushed him out of a window, and then he sacrifices himself for Bran instead. Stuff like that. Those kinds of twists. Doug, Cersei dying in childbirth, giving birth to a dwarf. Yeah, that's another thing coming full circle. What's another one? What's another really good one that we can talk about? Sansa. Oh my goodness. Her wanting to become a lady. She is Queen of Winter, Queen of the North, or something like that. I certainly could see that happen. Even or her renouncing that even. But yes, like all of these different. She could be the next Cersei. That would be crazy, right? After all that she's experienced, her understanding that her, pipe dream is not what it was, but her still being in that position anyways, and then taking it on, learning all that she's learned, would be super ironic, right? I picture Arya as a very like the thing that Ned said to Arya. Her not that's not me, but her being a lady, like her not getting what she wants either. Like the unexpected. We all expect Arya to sail west to Westeros and go on this other adventure. But what if she doesn't get that and she does become a lady and all of that? what Ned said. You know what I mean? That would be interesting coming full circle. Albert Reap, sorry about, yeah, I can't, Chrissy, can you go grab the post? I'll try to scroll up here, see if I can find it. Oh, okay, Albert Vandenberg, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Albert, sorry about that. If I wasn't Daenerys and the Witch, she probably meant the change from summer to winter. She is gonna die and be reunited with Drogo. Yeah, I mean, the symbolism of the House of the Undying, vision for Daenerys in the show is really interesting as opposed to the books, right? Like, what can we take from that? Okay, well, she walks into the throne room. It is covered in snow. The Red Keep obviously is partially destroyed, and there's snow on the Iron Throne. She walks up to the Iron Throne and doesn't touch it, but hears the cries of her dragons. And then she even goes, like, to get to her children, she goes beyond the wall, through a blizzard, past the wall, into a tent with Drogo and Rhaego. So what does that represent? She doesn't touch the Iron Throne. Okay, it would be very interesting if her and Jon kind of switch positions, right? Jon actually becoming what she set out to be, and Daenerys actually setting out what Jon wanted to do, protect the realm. Maybe Daenerys is the one that defeats the Night King. You know what I mean? Or they kill each other. And that's a tragic thing, right? Certainly she flipped the script pretty quickly. I mean, when Jon was bending the knee in bed, she submitted to him, right? She was like, I will help. I will fight for you. That's what she said. That's another circular thing. The irony of each of these stories. Daenerys, her circular journey, it's all been focused on the Iron Throne, reclaiming the ancient seat of her house. But what if it's actually her destiny is to fight the Night King and the White Walkers and die in battle and be that? You know what I mean? That's the circular nature of A Song of Ice and Fire that I really love. All of these stories coming full circle and the unexpected happening. And that's why I love the story so much. So great question in Deep Geek. But yeah, I think that, in relation to what you were saying, Albert, I kind of think that's what happens with Daenerys, Hey, Dan Carroll's in the chat, everyone. Let's show Dan some love. Dan is, of course, the media relations director for DragonCon. Big reason why we get to go do what we do and cover DragonCon every year. So let's show. We're gonna make Dan a moderator. I'm not sure if he knows how to moderate a chat, but we'll make him one anyways. He says, just joining, but Varys revealing the words in the fire were the entire manuscript of the Winds of Winter. Nice comment, Dan. Varys would have been looking in the flames for a super long time. Yeah. Like the switcheroo, the Song of Ice and Fire, I'm going to get a little bit cosmic for you here. We go through all the seasons on the planet, right? As we pass through, and as the sun moves through our galaxy, our Milky Way galaxy, it also does these dips and loops, and it passes past the equatorial plane. And one thing that is really interesting is like all these different ages. We go through the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, what's the golden is the golden age after that one? No, I think, but anyways, like these different periods of enlightenment, and we see these characters go through these stages, obviously these 3 or 4 different stages of realization throughout the story. These ironic endings are so interesting, right? But yeah, like the season's having a big impact on it. The cosmic nature of what's happening within the Song of Ice and Fire too. It's as above, so below is what I'm trying to say, I guess. What happens is we all go through these icy periods in our life, these down periods, so to speak, or we all have these like super passionate periods of our life where we're creative and successful and fight, like there's this so to speak fighter within us, and we're accomplishing things and we have this vigor in life. And then there's other periods where we're like down and we're kind of lost and trying to figure things out. And I think that Jon and Daenerys doing the switcheroo. That's ice and fire, right? I mean, Daenerys achieving the Iron Throne would be considered fire, right? Wouldn't that be considered fire, chat? Daenerys getting the Iron Throne, wouldn't that be fire? Wouldn't that like make her full of life? So I think that the opposite will happen to Daenerys, and she will be in the long night, in darkness. She represents life, but she will die fighting the darkness. And I think that Jon has, been associated with the color black. I mean, look at what he wore for like the first ever. You know what I mean? And then him representing the opposite of that, this beacon of hope, this light bringer. Jon could be light bringer himself. Imagine that. So yeah, Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, and then there's an Age of Enlightenment. Yeah. But imagine that. That's kind of interesting, right? Do you think Dany might die beyond the wall? Yeah, I mean, that would be really interesting. Are we going to see the lands of always winter again? I certainly think that we're going to see it in some sort of flashback, maybe. I don't know. But that is really interesting, like the House of the Undying vision in the show. I mean, maybe that vision actually already happened, right? That signifies her going beyond the wall. I mean, she did go and save, pardon me, quite a few people beyond the wall, and Jon was beyond the wall, right? And there was Snow on the throne before she went to the wall, and Jon served at the wall and went beyond the wall with the wildlings and fought at Hardhome and saw the Night King there. So that could be a kind of representation of, a blue rose in the cheek of the wall, of the ice of the wall. That could be kind of where we connect the book House of the Undying Prophecy and the show version of it, right? How we interpret that visually, because that's really interesting, right? Because both the prophecies in the show and the books are different. So that certainly could be a thing. Maybe part of that is already happened. But the last part of it, her being with Drogo and Rhaego, right? Is that a representation of her true love? Or she finds her true love beyond the wall, which is Jon? That could be really interesting, because she doesn't stay there with Drogo and Rhaego, right? She goes to the cries of her children, which are the dragons. So I still have a little bit of a cough left over. I'm not sick anymore, anyone. I just have a residual pardon me. But you know what I'm saying, everyone? Like that's kind of interesting too. Albert Vandenberg says, what if Jon turns fire, King Aegon, and Daenerys turning ice, Night Queen or death? Yeah, I mean that's certainly an interesting thing too. Daenerys's costume last season when she went beyond the wall was very, very interesting. A lot of people said it was Night Queen-esque. I don't think that Daenerys is going to be the Night Queen, but it certainly would be interesting. I think that the dragons and the White Walkers will both be gone at the end of the story. I don't think there will be any more magic. There will be ambiguity with that, with Bran, I think. Maybe, or maybe baby Sam, still the blood of the, he has blood of the White Walkers, I guess you can say. But yeah, I think that those are things that we have to consider. Indeed, he says, gotta go, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the live stream and feel free to super chat Kyle and pressure him a bit more to preview this Halloween costume. Thank you so much, Robert. Knightsbane. Ooh, that's very cool. I am super thirsty today. Albert Vandenberg, how about reforging ice and calling it Knightsbane? Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Sammy V's birthday tomorrow. Let's show some love for Sammy V in chat, everyone. Happy birthday to you. Mama Ogre says, what do you think about the Half-All's theory that either Jon or Bran takes the place of the Night King? Yeah, I mean, that would be history repeating itself. That would be, I mean, they would have to rebuild the wall, and then there would still be the threat of the White Walkers. I think there is going to be some finality, right? I mean, some things will be left open-ended. George does that a lot. But I don't think that is going to be a question that we're going to be wondering about. We'll be wondering about all sorts of different things, but I think that is going to be resolved. because I think that, you know, we are going to get, I mean, we're getting the prequel. We're getting Game of Thrones: The Long Night, the prequel, and George is, giving us the Targaryen histories and whatnot. Whether we get more history about the Long Night in written form, George, I'm sure, depending on how much writing he does, I don't know. It's going to be a while before we get any of that, I think. But I do think, yeah, I think that will probably be revealed in Game of Thrones: The Long Night, which makes me think, I don't know if we're going to get a ton about the Night King and the White Walkers and all of that, but I think that, most of the questions about, that specific part of the end game will be revealed with some open-ended stuff. And I think that, we will find the big twist about the White Walkers. Like, they can't leave that out in Game of Thrones season 8. They have to explain some of that. But I do think George has left. I mean, there is a lot still yet to be discovered about the history of Westeros. So I think that there is going to be a lot more theorization and things that can happen, that, big twists and whatnot, like this, the Starks not being goody two shoes like we thought they were, and kind of the history of Westeros not reflecting what we actually know. So I think that that's something that we have to consider as well, right? Jenny of Coldstone, Cersei could save the world. I'm going to stop you right there, Jenny. I appreciate the thought, but Cersei's not saving anyone. Has this happened 1,000 times before? I mean, I don't know 1,000 times, but certainly, I mean, history repeats itself for sure. I think the betrayal is probably Varys. I mean, he's supporting Fagon in the Blackfire. The Blackfire's in the book. So I think that the betrayal could be from Varys if it is a person. But yeah, we're definitely going to find out some of that. I mean, they cannot not do that. And Game of Thrones season 8, I mean, it's going to be wacky. There's going to be obviously crazy battles and stuff like that. But as the seasons have went on, it's progressively gotten more open about magic and in that part of the story. So I think that we have to take into consideration that, there has to be payoffs. There has to be payoffs in the Song of Ice and Fire, and Game of Thrones is just like, they got to give us stuff. Jon or Tyrion or both will betray Dany. I think neither betray Daenerys. I think Daenerys is going to die. She may betray her dream. I think the betrayal for love. Here's what I think. I think the betrayal for love is Dany betraying her dream of being Queen of Westeros. And her dying for love is actually sacrificing herself for Westeros and someone else to carry on what she was going to try to do, to break the wheel. That's how I interpret it as. And Candace Burns has it like, if it's literal, Jon could be the betrayal, stabbing through the heart. The represent like the Nisa thing, if that really does happen. But I think it can be more like metaphorical. I think the Night King is only searching for healing. I mean, he is searching to rest in peace. I mean, he's been alive for a long time. We don't know how long exactly, but yeah, he hasn't had peace. And I'm sure that if he is definitely intelligent, because he is calculated and he's made strategic moves. If he did have a family or a loved one, he's been around for a long time thinking about them. So, yeah. Albert Vanderberg, are you scared that one season is too short for a story so big? I mean, we're getting longer episodes, and I really honestly have faith in this is the final season. I know a lot of people have, trashed season 7 and other seasons, saying that it's gotten worse as the show has progressed. I think that they know this is the last season. They're going to approach it similarly to how season 1 was, where they knew they had to make it the best possible story to keep it around. I really do feel it's going to be amazing. I don't think it's going to disappoint people. Now, we're not going to get everything we want, but I mean, when in a TV show do you actually get everything you want? I mean, there's very few shows that have achieved that. Like Breaking Bad, we didn't even get everything we want. I mean, there's things that I wanted in Breaking Bad that I thought I was going to get and never got. So I don't, yeah, that's how I feel about it. Sansa's not going to betray Jon. 100%. I don't believe that. I'm going to go for a few more minutes here, people, and then me and Gemma are going to go record. We're going to go record an hour bonus podcast, The Citadel of Hype. Really, really excited. We're going to be talking about Daredevil Season 3. I'm currently on episode 7, I believe. I just finished episode 6. Holy moly. Daredevil Season 3 might be the best season of television that I've seen since, maybe season 3. It's really good. It's up there. Daredevil is now in my top 5 favorite shows. It was always one of my favorite shows, but this season 3 of Daredevil has been just bonkers great. Really disappointing about the cancellation of Iron Fist. But we're going to be talking about some of that on the podcast on Patreon. For those of you who are patrons of the channel, if you do want to sign up and get that bonus podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of this video. Patreon.com/AzorAhype, or if you do want to find me on Patreon, Azor Ahype, you just got to type it in there. Also, people, don't forget, for those of you who haven't entered the giveaway, I am giving away a signed copy of Game of Thrones, signed by George R. R. Martin. I know most of you have already entered the giveaway, but you can click the link in the description of this video. There's a bunch of different ways to enter. You can go check out Blaze Manga, Mog Park, check out some different content creators. There's links there. I think there's like 8 or 9 different ways to enter. That is going on, I believe, until like December 18th. So if you haven't got on that train, I am giving away a signed copy of Game of Thrones by George R. R. Martin. They got signed at Worldcon 76 in San Jose, California. So don't forget that. We'll address some of these. Like, I'm gonna take down a couple of questions here, and we'll address some of this stuff in another stream for sure. Tomorrow night we're gonna be doing the Halloween stream. Everyone, don't forget about that on Gemma's channel. I don't know exactly. I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I'm not mistaken. So I will definitely be on it, and I will be dressing up. So look out for that. And yeah, there will be really excited. Like I said, I'm going to Patreon Con in a couple weeks. Always looking for ways to improve the channel, obviously, and give back more to everyone who's donating their hard-earned money to the channel. And the hype bringers, you guys are crazy. I would not have been able to make this amazing trip, return here to California, even go to Patreon Con or do any of these conventions, Dragon Con, Con of Thrones, without all of your support, people from the super chat, everybody that helps the channel grow even further. But thank you so much for joining me, everyone, today. I am going to address some more. You know what? How about I do another live stream on Sunday for everyone? I am going to be doing the Halloween stream with Gemma tomorrow night, but how about I do a stream during the day on Sunday? We'll catch up. I haven't been doing as many videos. I gotta do more videos for you guys. There's more edited videos coming, but let's talk a little bit more on Sunday, everyone. And I'll look back at some of the chat here, and I'll write down some of these questions and make sure that I get to some of them that I wasn't able to answer today here on the live stream. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone, today. Like I said, it was really fun hanging out with all of you today. Like I said, me and Gemma got to go record the bonus podcast for Patreon. If you do want to reach out to me, you can check me out on Twitter at AzorAhype. You can follow me there. Of course, if you want to chat with me or just send me a message, it doesn't even have to be about Game of Thrones or what we talked about today. On the channel, we could talk about anything in the comment section, but yeah, let's get hype. Let's get the comment section going. Let's continue these awesome conversations. Of course, I am on Facebook at AzorAhype. You can message me there if you have a theory or something you want me to talk about on the channel. Of course, like I said, thank you to all the patrons of the channel and people who so generously donated in the super chat today. Really, really, really appreciate that. And of course, like I said, I'll see you tomorrow night for sure. If you are all going to check out the Halloween stream, it's going to be me. Lucifer means Lightbringer. Gray Area is going to be joining us. Really excited about that. Gray is going to be joining us for a live stream. So it's me, Lucifer means Lightbringer, Gemma, Gray Area, Aziz from History of Westeros, San Rixian. I think I'm forgetting someone right now. So yeah, really, really excited about that. Thanks everyone for joining me today. And I'm really, really excited to be feeling better and able to talk to all of y'all. But anyways, everyone, I'll see you tomorrow dressed as Khaleesi. Hype and love.